Okay, welcome to Sunday Shop Talk. So I've had to have a bit of a move around and I'll show you how I've managed to squeeze in this beast here. It is getting a bit tight, but it is just about doable, and I've kind of got everything now in terms of for one person to process at a decent speed without the big bottlenecks of either finishing or planing or sanding, whatever it may be when you're working on your own in a small shop. So I'll give you a bit of background on this machine, but I'm not going to do an in-depth on it or anything because I actually haven't used it much. I've just put a few things through it, but I'll tell you why I selected this. There's more to it than just a name, believe it or not. But have a quick look and also how I managed to squeeze it in and move a couple of things around. So, got pretty lucky with this in Germany. It came over next day from a brilliant company. Yeah, this come with the option of the in and out feed rollers, which is brilliant. I didn't even know that when I bought it, to be honest. But I'm really pleased with that. When you're working on your own, it's really handy to have the extra support. Another tool that I've always kind of dreamed of having, but just never had the room. So crucially, this is just about as big as I can manage in here and still get work around to pass it through. So obviously got to go right around the edge. I need to keep it as wide as possible. So obviously this is a lovely big shop compared to my last one, and compared to lots of us it is really big. But there is the same problem of all these kind of woodwork shops and machines, is that from each end of its cutter you need the massive distance to run it in, and obviously feeding in a whole table into here, I need this distance here, coming into the bandsaw again. So I've tried to put everything in a position where there is at least 4 meters, that's tight, 4 meters to be able to run everything through. So that was the only place. So you can see where I've positioned it. So if the slider's back, you can run it through. If you put the table down, it'll actually run in line with the table saw. So the table saw, sliding saw runs level. You lift up the lid on the planer, you can run right through to here. That's underneath that. This easily is movable on the pallet truck, but you can get, when my son's not got his motorbike there, you can obviously get everything through here. And this is another little shared work area. Got some really exciting stuff going on over here soon in the next few weeks, metal workshop. Anyway, that's a shared area. So the one restriction, we have this as well, just say the spindle molder. Again, this is low enough that the full material can go through here, and this is perfectly level with the top of the saw, so you can run stuff across. The one restriction I have, unless I get the truck and move this back, if I ever do it, is here. So we're limited to around about 80, 85 with the sander there for this side. But the interesting thing, when you've got like a sliding saw, it's very rare that you run long sections on this side like you would a regular table saw, because most of your sheet goods, if it's big sheet items or whatever, are sitting on the slider. So all of the sheet is on that side. You're using the cross-cut fence, and you're only your offcuts on this side, which very rare is it over 80 is probably it actually for sort of walk-in wardrobes and stuff. So that's probably on the limit, but obviously I could move that back a bit. It just gets in the way of the buggy when it's coming in and out. And yes, the workshop would be absolutely perfect if I had all of this space, but to be perfectly honest, I would rather share it with my son and have a bit of a laugh in here and seeing him enjoy himself than just having all the room I needed. But it works well, and moving the panel saw up has been, actually, I did it the other way around, and it's been a real bonus because we're no longer trying to walk around the slider all the time, and it's kind of kept that end for machines, other than this little one that sneaked in. This is all tables now, all kind of workbenches, which is good. So it's working well. So first of all, why did I pick this brand, Felder, and this size? Well, I guess this is a 950 wide, so this can take pretty much the biggest standard dining table that I make. It can handle. There are going to be occasions when, you know, you could do with 1300 or 1100, which is the next one up. But my next issue is whatever goes through there has to fit through there. And I have to fit this machine in the shop as well. So it kind of is optimum. When you start getting to a bigger wide belt, I don't know if anyone's looking for wide belts. So the difference with a wide belt, say compared to the drum sander or the dual drum sander, is aside from its size, it does need air. So it actually has air which stretches the belt, and I'll show you that in a second, connected. And what is interesting about this particular one is it only has 120 dust port. It's really good on dust collection, better than say the Jet was that I had. But it only has 120 dust port, which means my system can easily handle it, which is 125. Now I do have really good, there's 4 feeds of 32 amp free phase to this shop, just in this one room, so it's not a problem. But what's great about this is it's really low ampage. This is really cost effective to run. It's kind of the smallest footprint that I could find, and the most sort of advanced in that it's not a massive industrial beast sucking loads of air, needing twin extraction and tons of ampage just to sand a chopping board or a table. So that's kind of the main reason I went for this, and definitely the footprint, which is perfect for here. So when I get more into it, I'll give you more of a run through, but how they work, all of them are pretty much the same. You've got an amp meter, and if you overload it, you see the amps going up, and you can see it's drawing too much, because these things are taking off, if we turn it on, it's taking off 0.1 or 0.2 of a mil on a pass, so, you know, a minute amount. They're not like a planer. But what's nice on the Felder is you have a continual vary speed. Because you're doing so many passes and taking off points at a time, rather than the manual click, click, click of the other one I looked at, the Sandy, this one you can just push up and down. And it's also got the second stage. It's a single belt this, but it kind of has a second stage, like the Sandy, where you put down a pad. Now this pad is actually run by air. So if you're doing real fine work, you engage the pad, which is after the roll. So this is the calibrating roller. This hits first. If you engage the pad, which is here, with this machine, it's actually air pressure. So you can vary, if you come around the front here, on the later models, which is why I really like this one, you actually have a pressure gauge. You can see it changing in bar. And if you engage that pad, this is how hard the pad hits. So you can imagine if you put like a nice 180 grit in or something and just have the pad with a tiny bit of pressure, it's really going to give you, for a machine of this size anyway, it's going to give you a really fine finish. And if you are going to be calibrating, which I'm going to be doing a lot, I've actually ordered some 40 grit paper so that I can run boards through, just leveling them. I'll just take the high edges off of a plane, save on the router sleds, and I'll just use it as a calibrator. You don't engage that, which is digital, which is nice and quick, and you can just take a few mil off and just keep passing it through, and slowly you'll get it. Another great thing about this machine, typical Felder, is this function here when you change paper. So if you see when I change the paper what happens here, it immediately calibrates the height. So if you do one pass on 80, remove the paper, put 100 in and do a second pass without touching this, it's the optimum setting for the first pass to be the more coarse and the second pass to be the fine. So if you're working alone, that really speeds things up. Now if you come to the side, what's also great is how narrow this machine is. So the actual base is no bigger than the Jet I had. Now this did come, which I wasn't expecting, this is a used machine, with the extensions, which is brilliant. Again, brilliant if you're working on your own and you're sending stuff through. So it has the extended rollers, in and out feed rollers, which is great. And then as I said up the top, you just connect your air, excuse me, and 120 mil extraction, and you're good to go. So I've just told you all the great things it does have. Now what Felder do not have, I'm not sure if any of their machines have it, on the Sandia, you'll have like a sensor here which will work out the depth of the wood, and you'll put it in it will come down and it will give you the optimum if you're doing sort of veneers or sheet goods. Now, because I'm actually going to use this with hard goods like the walnuts and the oak, I don't really miss that. Having the digital control, just walking around, that's going to be the time saver for me. The ability to change the belts, just tap it 1 mil or 0.1 mil at a time and varying the speed once I work with resins and different papers. So that's why I went for it, was this, and the lack of the automatic height is not a real big problem for me. And if you are doing a lot of calibrating of kind of live edge and the big stuff, you're not going to have one thickness all over, so you're going to have to get your calipers out anyway. So the process would be, we get the calipers out. It's 35 roughly, so if we bring it to 35. So the other great thing about this machine is its height. It's much lower than the bigger machines, but it does have a bigger belt than, say, the Sandia 950. I think the Sandia is like a 1538 millimeter. This is actually a 1700 millimeter belt. And the great thing about that is the larger the belt in terms of its diameter, it's going to run cooler. So the longer it takes to come around to get hot, and that's one of the reasons you get ripped paper or burn. So the bigger machines, like the dual sanders, they have 1.9, this is 1.7. So typical Felder, it's just a bit more than its competitors and a bit less than the bigger ones. So now I found this on Machine Seeker, which I'm sure you've all heard of, and I brought this over from Germany. The new machine is absolutely wonderful, but I just couldn't afford it. But I managed to find a second-hand one, and it's the 2017. It's like new, hardly been used, so I got a bit lucky. But that's one of the reasons I was looking for this, and when I found this one, I just jumped at it straight away. I've been looking for ages, over a year, for a decent machine. This popped up on the internet last week, so really good. Anyway, so let's put something through and show you how it works. So unfortunately, you can't feel the finish. Now I've put an 80 grit in there, or maybe a 60 grit actually. Pretty impressive, I've got to say. It's almost finished. If you did put a 100 or 150 in here, this would be done. There'd be no random orbital needed. You really get a lovely grain finish. The way that they oscillate just is a really good finish. So the next thing is changing paper. So you just literally remove this safety lock to change the paper, pull the knob, pull the whole sheet out, push the new sheet in, replace this, and you're pretty much good to go. I think if you get good at it, it's probably under a minute. I was finding at times whilst cutting the paper, it's about 4.5 meters for the drum sander I had, 650 wide. On a bad day, it was taking a half an hour, 40 minutes, cutting the paper, getting it fitted properly on your own. Sometimes I got it done in 20, but not very often. And with the resin, I was continually clogging the paper, so it was a real problem, and the paper's expensive. So I didn't want to go too in-depth today, because I haven't actually used the machine much myself, but I just wanted to give you an overview of why I picked it. If anyone's looking for something like this and wants to ask questions on this, or the Sandia that I looked into, Sandia 950, SCM, put your questions in the comments so everyone can see them, and hopefully I'll have the answer or someone else will, and we can come back to this in a month or so once I've been using it and give you a real lowdown on how it performs for the way I work. You've seen the stuff I build once I start putting whole tables through and stuff like that. Okay, that's it for this week's shop talk. A couple of you have asked me, which is really kind, saying that Sunday Shop Update's a bit of an institution. It's really cool. I love that. I changed the name of it to Shop Talk because basically we are talking shop, whether it be on a Sunday or midweek if I've got something to show you. And I do run a business as well, and I really like to keep my YouTube builds and stuff quite quick, like most other people, under 10 or 12 minutes. And there's a lot of people that watch that do not want to talk about saws and sanders or whatnot. So that's why I've separated it and called it a different name. If you follow me on Patreon, thank you so much. There's some new patrons this week. This afternoon I'll be uploading this, which is a new wall hanging. It will be on YouTube later on in the week, once I get time to edit it down. Patreon is there. It's not just a money-making venture, believe you and me. It is there so that the more professionals and the people who really want to see behind the scenes, gives me an opportunity to talk on the videos more, and you know, for that kind of side of thing, do much more longer builds, and still keep my YouTube nice and buzzy and fast, like everybody, you know, that's what people want to see. So I don't want to kind of mix it up too much. That's why that's there. I'm running a competition. So competition time is going to be to win 2 tickets for Makerscentral at Birmingham NEC. I'm really excited and honoured to be asked. And they've offered me a pair of tickets for any of my subscribers. So the competition is, I've got an Instagram account now, which I'm trying to get going. And the good thing about the Instagram account for everyone is you'll get to see pictures kind of almost real time as I'm doing projects, snaps of what I'm doing before I do the builds on YouTube. So the way to enter the competition is to like this post on Instagram and tag 2 or more friends, separate comments please. If you enter that, I might throw some other little bits in as well. I'll probably follow this up in a few weeks. I'm not sure when to end it. It's not for a while, Makerscentral, but just for a bit of a laugh. Anyway, thanks as always. Thanks so much for watching, for all your kind words. I'll see you on the next one.